Hello everyone, good day. It's me again, Joseph Kwabnata, and I'm here to help you with a physics problem. So the problem before us here is centripetal force. You've probably heard about it. If you've heard about it, your knowledge will be reinforced, and if not, you add something new to your knowledge. Before we get into it, I want us to get some basics. Let's consider a body here. Now, if this body is moving forward with a velocity v, if a force acts on this body in the same direction, it increases the velocity of the body in a straight path, the same direction. This is our first situation. Hope you understand. Good. Now our second situation is if our ball here, which is moving with a velocity v in this direction, is acted upon by a force moving in the opposite direction, what does it cause the ball to do? It causes the ball to slow down, it causes the ball to stop if the forces are equal in magnitude, or it causes the ball to go backwards if this force is greater than the velocity. Now our third situation, which will lead us to centripetal force, is when our body here, still moving in this direction, is acted upon by a force perpendicular to the direction of the ball. Now if the force moves upwards, it will cause our ball to take a circular path upwards. If the force also acts downwards, it will cause our ball to take a circular path downwards. So this leads us to centripetal force. So centripetal force is any force that causes a body to remain in circular motion and is always pointed inwards towards the center of the motion. So as the ball moves this way, centripetal force acts towards the center. If it's also here, it acts towards the center. If it's here, it acts towards the center. If it's here, it also acts towards the center. Hope you are following and you all understand. So we'll consider different situations and how centripetal force plays a role in that motion. So one thing I want to let you all know is centripetal force is not an actual force on its own, but it's actually derived from the action of another force, and I'll demonstrate it in our examples that we'll do from here. So with our first example, let's consider a boy here spinning a ball around his head. You all probably have done it before. Maybe you have a string with a ball and you spin it around your head. The ball moves in a circular path. Now, what causes the ball to move in a circular path is centripetal force. But where does the centripetal come from? So what holds the ball? The string. Now, what causes the string to hold the ball is the tension in the string. Now, what did I tell you earlier about centripetal force? It causes the body to remain in a circular motion towards the center, inward. So the tension acts inward. So it's the tension in the string that is causing the ball to take this circular path. So this tension is causing centripetal force. Hope you are following and you're enjoying it. Our second situation, let's consider a curved road. Assuming you are sitting in a car, here's our car drawn beautifully here. Assuming you are sitting in a car which wants to initiate a curve. For this car to initiate a curve, it will have to take a circular path. Now, anytime you hear circular path in motion, centripetal force always plays a role. So this car will take a circular path this way, but a force acts perpendicular to this motion So the car moves straight, but there's a force that acts perpendicular to this motion that pulls the car towards the center and causes the car to initiate the curve. Now this force is friction, but this friction here is now acting as centripetal force. Now in our third example, we'll go a little bit in depth. Now when I say in depth, I'm referring to, we'll consider your weight at different points or different positions on a Ferris wheel as it rotates. I just said Ferris wheel. You probably don't know what a Ferris wheel is, so I'm going to draw it here. So we have our Ferris wheel drawn perfectly here on the board. It probably looks familiar, right? Yeah, you usually see it in playgrounds. So the wheel just moves round, round. You sitting on it. It's quite fun. I haven't sat on one before, but people say it's fun. So now we'll assume you are at point A. We'll take your weight at point A, point B, and point C. So these are different positions on the Ferris wheel. Now, assuming you are at the top of the Ferris wheel, you will feel lighter. The reason you will feel lighter is gravitational force acts downwards. Now, for you to feel your weight is caused by your normal force, which is caused by your seat. So now, since centripetal force pulls you downwards towards, let me use a different color for you to see it well. Since centripetal force pulls you downwards towards the center, and force of gravity also pulls you downwards towards the center, pulls you downwards towards the center, you don't really get a reaction from your seat, because these two, centripetal force and gravitational force, are working hand in hand. So you don't get a really large push from your seat for your weight to really read high. So your weight here will be less. You have a less reading. So your apparent rate will be reduced. So a less weight. Less weight. So that's for situation A. Situation B, if you are on this side, in the middle of the Ferris wheel, gravitational force and the centripetal force are like on the same plane, so like they cancel out each other. So your weight will be apparent. There will be no change in weight, so your normal weight. Your weight will be normal. Now in our third situation, when the Ferris wheel is at the bottom, centripetal force will act upwards. Gravity will also act downwards. So there will be a reaction upwards. Now, this reaction, coupled with what? The action of centripetal force, will make the weighing scale read a larger value than your apparent weight. So you have a larger, let me just use a red, a larger weight. So if you probably get the opportunity to sit in a Ferris wheel and you have a scale with you, you can just take this simple experiment and you see it for yourself. Thank you very much. Thank you for following through the first part of the video. Now here comes the second part of the video. We have centrifugal force. Have you heard of centrifugal force before? What do you know about centrifugal force? The centrifugal force is any force that pushes a body outward during a circular motion. So while centripetal force pushes a body inwards, centrifugal force pushes a force outward. Now one thing about centrifugal force which you need to know is centrifugal force isn't a real force. When I say a real force is like a force that is just like physical interaction on an object. So something like gravity, something like friction, they are all real forces. But centrifugal force is not a real force. It's a fictitious force fictitious. It's a fictitious force, meaning it's only experienced based on your reference point. So if I'm outside, I might not see the force, only you might feel it. It's something you feel. It's like it's a perception. It's like your mind is playing mind games, mind tricks on you. Yeah, so it's a fictitious force. We are going to consider some examples which will make you understand centrifugal force. You've probably felt it, you've probably seen it in play. I'll enlighten you. So let's consider a merry-go-round. This is a merry-go-round. We have a lot of kids' toys today. Our merry-go-round spins, yeah. You've probably sat in one before. If you've not, I'll suggest you go and try one. It spins. Now as it spins, if you sat on one, you feel there's a force pushing you outward, or like trying to push you outside. That force you feel is centrifugal force, which is not a real force, but it's a fictitious force. Now what you are actually feeling is what? Inertia. Now let me explain this. As the merry-go-round goes round, friction keeps your butt remaining to the seat. If there's no friction, you just fly off. Friction keeps your butt remaining on the seat. Now your body responds with another force, which by Newton's third law of motion, for every force there's an equal but for every action there's an equal but opposite reaction. So your body reacts with a reaction on its own. That reaction is what you are feeling. So it's not actually the presence of the force, but it's the reaction you feel by another force that's causing the centrifugal force. No, it's not quite clear, but hope you are understanding. Another example we are going to talk about here is artificial gravity. You've probably seen videos where you see people who are apparently in space walking in the spaceship doing their normal walking. How do they do it? Where is the gravity coming from? Centrifugal force here plays a role. Now let's assume our spaceship is round. Now this rotates. Now as it rotates, centrifugal force pushes our astronaut, let's say, who was initially here, to this place, and makes him stick to the wall of the spaceship. Now this centrifugal force is pushing him outward, so it's now acting as an artificial gravity to help him walk and perform his actions. Thank you.